your transition from arena to NFL, coaching with the Bucks, coaching with your brother, I guess, how did that get started, and what were you thinking when you first stepped into that?
Yeah, I was very fortunate that my brother got a job with Tampa, so I was able to double dip. Had he stayed at Oakland, he was with the Raiders at the time, then I don't know if I would have been able to get in the NFL as easily as I did. So I spent 7 years with my brother just basically being an offensive quality control guy, cutting up film, helping him with third downs and red zone, and just giving him ideas, and then just trying to keep him level headed and being a positive influence on a staff, and just taking it all in, learning from guys like Mike Tomlin or Raheem Morris and Monty Kiffin and Joe Barry and the rest of the guys on that staff. We had a pretty good staff. And then the players. It was fun to watch the players, how they practice and got themselves ready to go. The Warren Sapps, John Lynch, Rondé Barbers, Brad Johnson. I mean, I was very fortunate to be around some very good professional players. So it kind of taught me how to, not only learn the football game, but also what it takes to be a pro from a player standpoint and what you're looking for, because
Mhm.
I knew how to find arena league talent. And then you see the difference between NFL talent and you realize it's not that much different, but the way they prepare and the way they get themselves ready continuously year in and year out was pretty impressive. And then, like I said, when the arena league folded and my brother got fired and I got fired from Tampa, I was in a holding pattern. I didn't know what I was going to do. And then the UFL came out of nowhere and they had a team in Orlando called the Orlando, who the hell were we? The Orlando
Tuskers? Was it the Tuskers?
Tuskers. Yeah, Tuskers. And Jim Haslett called me out of the blue as the head coach and said, "You want to be the coordinator here? We'll pay you so and so, so and so." I said, "Sure. I'm not doing anything right now anyway." So I did that for 1 year. He went to the Redskins to be defensive coordinator. So I got the head coach the following year. And I could see that league was on very unstable ground. That was about to go down quick because the players were making pretty good money. The coaches were making outstanding money. I was like, and there's only, a couple thousand people in the stands and it's no television money. So that thing folded. And then out of the blue, Marvin Lewis gave me a call, asked me to come to the combine and want to interview me to be offensive coordinator for the Bengals. And I was like, there's no way I'm going to get this job. And ended up talking to him. And then he flew me up to Cincinnati, had more of a in-depth interview with him and Mr. Brown, the owner, and ended up getting the job. And I'm very lucky. We had 3 very good, successful years at Cincinnati, and then I got the head job at Washington. So to this day, I don't know how the hell I got the job at Cincinnati. That was crazy, but I'm glad it did because it worked out. We ended up drafting Andy Dalton and AJ Green, and had 3 pretty damn good years of offensive football with a very young football team.
Mm-hmm. So kind of talk about, your responsibilities as a head coach in arena compared to the responsibilities as a head coach in the NFL.
Really the same. It's just you have more people to deal with. The Arena League was awesome because there's only 20 plus players. Your practice squad guys, your injured guys. You only have 3 or 4 coaches, and you got your trainer, and then you have to deal with the salary cap as well. The salary cap was, a serious thing because we had housing and food and all that stuff. You had to deal with. The owners kind of gave you strict numbers. You had to keep yourself under. And then I think 2 players only half their salary counted, but that was not on every team. Some teams allowed it. Some teams couldn't afford that. So salary cap was huge. You had to stay under that for your owner, so you get paid. But that's only 23 guys and 4. Now the NFL, now you have 80 plus players, and you got 25, 30 coaches, and you got the scouts and the GMs and the presidents, and it's just a lot of different people. It's just a bigger plate, so to speak.
Mm-hmm.
Same responsibility, bigger plate, more pressure, obviously. But it's basically the same thing. You have more help, like the GMs and the scouts and the personnel people. You have more help, which sometimes it's not more help. Sometimes it's less help. Sometimes it's more of a pain in the ass to deal with more people because they have their own opinions and how it should be run. And the Arena League, I felt like it was very good because it's how I wanted to do pretty much everything. And if we didn't do good in the Arena League, shit, it was my fault. If we didn't do good in the NFL, and we had injuries and trainers and different scouts and personnel guys, so just too many chefs in the kitchen, really. But it's very similar, just more people.
Okay, that was always something I always wanted to ask you. Comparison. Yeah, it's football, but how did being a coach in the NFL kind of compare? I know arena, we kind of had a little more fun, And we always
Yeah,
say
Arena
that.
League, you got an O-line, D-line coach. The NFL, you got an O-line coach, an O-line assistant, a D-line assistant, an outside linebacker coach, an inside linebacker coach, a secondary coach, a passing game coordinator, a receiver coach, or quarterback coach, offensive assistant, 4 GAs. It's just never ending. There's a ton of them. You got to coach your coaches too, because you want everybody on the same page when you're teaching your team what to do. And it's easier said than done. A lot of work goes into it, a lot of hours. In the Arena League, it's not as many hours because there weren't as many people you had to communicate with. If that makes sense. And so.
So when I remember your schedule kind of with Orlando, and we were kind of like in and out. Like we were in by seeing the trainer by like 7 or something like that, 6:30 or 7. I can't remember. But I remember first thing in the morning, then we watch film, then we practice, and then we kind of be done by like noon, somewhere around there. Right?
Yeah, it depends on lunch. If we had lunch available, I might try to keep you, have some lunch, and then we'd have lunch brought in the locker room, and we might watch practice film after lunch and then get you out of there. I always like to try to practice in the morning because of the heat in Orlando, obviously. Just try to beat the heat. And you get more out of guys. And, I don't want to practice at 1 o'clock in the afternoon and have people having heat stroke, including myself. I got to get out of the heat.
Definitely. So, that being said, what was your schedule like? What does the schedule look like for an NFL team in comparison to Arena? Like a daily schedule?
Jesus. Yeah, just multiply that times about 9 hours. I used to get in, early because I figured if I could get in before everybody else get in, I could get 2 hours of good work before anybody bothered me and open my door. So I had to get in early. But the players usually came in around 6:37 to get their breakfast taped or lift weights or whatever it might be. And we usually had, if it's a typical Wednesday during the season, we'd probably start meetings around 8 or so till about 9, offense, defense. Then we'd have a walkthrough about 11 till about 11:45. Then we'd have lunch till about 12:30, 1 o'clock. Guys would come in and watch the walkthrough. And we'd go out to practice from 1 to 3:30. Shower, they'd come back and we watched the practice film. They'd be out of there about 5:30, 5:30, and then the coaches had to preview, get ready for the next day, which could be third down, could be red zone, could be short yardage, whatever situation it might be. We had to draw the cards, the practice cards, the walkthrough cards. It was just an ongoing process during the season. Is rough. There's a lot of work, man. It's a lot of time. And you got to make sure you talk to the trainers and find out who's available to play, and make sure you get people in there. Practice squad guys got to come up, make sure everybody's under contract, make sure everybody's good to go. And there's always something every day. There's like 4 or 5 things that you don't expect to happen. Whether it's an injury or somebody's late to practice. 4 or 5 things are going to happen. You're like, dang it, So it's just it's a lot of work.
Yeah, definitely. So when it came to Arena, let's go back to Arena. So what was kind of like a profile of a player that you'd be interested in? Like they needed to meet these characteristics or this profile in order for you to be like, I'm going to sign this guy.
That was by position, EJ. Everything was position related for me. From receivers, I want my offensive specialist inside guy had to be able to run, stick his foot in the ground, get in and out of breaks, track the deep ball. I wanted a big physical receiver, my Corey Fleming, Stevie Thomas, Barry Wagner type guy. Got to have one of those big guys for the red zone because you know how hard it is in the red zone. Then the other guy, usually back in the day, was a wide receiver DB, but we switched over. Now we didn't have the two-way player, so I could take 2 good receivers. I didn't care about the third one. I just tried to find the best talented guy, but I always want to have a guy with some juice on the inside who use the high motion, get up on people's toes and make the moves. A more physical guy, catch the ball in zone and break tackles. Offensive line wise, back when we had offensive and defensive line, guys had to play both ways. I went defense all the time. I found big, strong defensive ends. I figured if they had some length, we could teach them how to block, except for center. Center was always a true center. I didn't like messing around teaching guys how to play center, but always wanted to find defensive line with some size that could transition and play defensive line. That's how we did it. And then fullback, linebacker, that was the tricky one because they had to play both. Typically, we went for the linebacker type with the more juice, the more quick first step type guy because rushing the passer was critical from that linebacker spot. They could go straight ahead. They go into backside A gap, backside B gap, whatever it might be. You want a guy with some strength and some power and some quick first step. We had Rick Hamilton. We had some pretty good fullback linebackers, true linebackers. Then the trick was teaching them how to pass block, and that was never easy. But it's easier to teach a guy how to pass block than it is to teach a slow, fat fullback how to rush the passer, right? So we were able to do that. Secondary wise, you know, you want a corner, a wide side field corner with some length and some ball skills. And we had fortunate enough to have the best corner in the history of the Arena League, and Kenny McIntyre. And he wasn't a very big guy, but his ball skills were sick. He could play press coverage and run, and people try to throw back shoulder fades on him and slants, and he pick them. He's unbelievable. Then my middle guy was I wanted more of a shifty, quick type guy, quick first step, short shuttle guy, is like a 3.9, 4 flat short shuttle, could change direction quickly. And we found Damon Mason at a tryout camp in New Orleans, and he ran like a 4.0 short shuttle. He was kind of small. I watched his highlight film. One of the best highlight films for a little defensive back I've ever seen at Southeast Louisiana. He got like 20 tackles against Texas A&M. This guy was a war daddy in college. I'm just telling you. So we signed him, and he didn't have great speed. He didn't have great hips that you really want to have, but he had unbelievable physical toughness. So we just worked on him playing a little bit softer. And then if people caught it in front of him, just go punish them. And he did that. And then we mix in some zones in the backside corner. We just tried to find the best athlete we could. So, that's it was all position specific, but we try to find good guys that like to work hard and play hard.
Good. Yeah, I kind of, hearing you talk and kind of thinking about how I try to recruit, and I think from some talks with you and guys, just like, okay, I think I was kind of on the right track.
You have to change your coaching style too. Like if you don't get a guy like Damon Mason, maybe you get a guy like Cleveland Thomas, who played for San Jose, who could really, really run. And then they play press the motion with that guy. We did that with a couple other guys. We had Ahmad, who was it? Ahmad Green or somebody like that. Ahmad Carroll from Green Bay ran like a 4.3 40, and we had him. We just put him at the line of scrimmage. Guys would run motion. He just be at the line of scrimmage waiting for him and run with him. So it depends on who you have. You have to adjust your coaching style a little bit. And fortunately, we had Damon and Kenny for a long time in the secondary. Before that, when I played with Tampa Bay, Tracy Perkins was one of the best safeties in the league, and we had Johnny Harris as one of the unbelievable safety. We had some really, really good defensive backs in Tampa and in Orlando.
Okay, so I don't want to hold you up. Just wanted to talk with you a little bit. So kind of in closing, what's some kind of a words of advice for people who are looking to still play, people who just need to hear kind of your voice on advice on life? I don't know. Just
it's just hard for me because I don't know where the league is financially, and as long as it's okay financially and the checks are cleared and you're okay feeding your family, you're by yourself, you still have a few years left to try to make that last push to try to get another opportunity in the USFL or UFL, whatever is playing now. Try to get a couple more shots. That'd be great. Or if it's just a job on the side that you're still working in. Main thing is you got to make sure you're trying to make progress in another direction other than football. You can't just make the Arena League your only focal point. I know football and training and all that stuff, you can still do that and still have your sight set on becoming an NFL player, but make sure you start to transition a little bit into life after football. So that's the only advice I can tell you, because it's so hard to get in, because every year in the NFL, what do you have? You have free agency, and then you got the draft, and a whole new influx of young talents coming in there. So the longer you're playing Arena Football League, the less opportunity you're going to have to get in there, just because the numbers. I mean, look how many guys are going to be in the draft this year, and then the college free agents that don't get drafted, they're going to be getting in a training camp. So it's just very hard to get your foot in the door in the NFL right now, unless you just have a sensational year and a great agent. But keep your dream alive, but also make sure you fall back on something.
All right. Sounds good. Again, I appreciate you coming on and talking with me and seeing that I do talk.
Yeah, I love it, man. Proud of you, man. I'm glad for all you did. You've had a hell of an Arena League career yourself, and I enjoyed every minute coaching you, man. You're a hell of a player and a hell of a dude, DJ. I'll do anything for you, man. Just holler at me.
Appreciate it. And like I said, we'll be in touch. Like I said, I'm always going to be needing some advice. So whenever you got time, I'm going to be in your ear. Just say, what can I do with this? Like I've already been doing. So,
anytime, DJ.
Appreciate having you on. And Have a good night.
All right. Thanks.
Thanks.